Why do some people succeed consistently in their careers, relationships, and personal lives, while others struggle despite having talent and opportunities? The answer isn't found in quick fixes or personality techniques. It lies in something much deeper: character. Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People isn't another self-help book promising overnight transformation. It's a principle-centered approach to living that has guided millions toward lasting effectiveness. These aren't just habits you practice, they're principles you embody. They represent a complete paradigm shift from the inside out. Think about the most effective people you know. They don't rely on charm or manipulation. They operate from a foundation of integrity, fairness, and human dignity. They've discovered what Covey calls the character ethic, the timeless principles that govern human effectiveness. Today we'll explore each of these 7 habits, understanding how they work together to create what Covey calls private victory and public victory. We'll see how personal mastery leads to interpersonal effectiveness, and how continuous renewal keeps it all sustainable. The paradigm shift, inside-out approach. Before diving into the habits themselves, we need to understand the fundamental shift Covey proposes. Most people try to change from the outside in. They focus on techniques, skills, and quick fixes. But real change happens from the inside out. Your paradigms are the maps in your mind, the way you see the world. These paradigms, based on your values and principles, determine your behavior. Change your paradigms and your behavior changes naturally. This is why character development isn't just nice to have, it's essential for lasting effectiveness. The inside-out approach means starting with yourself. Before you can effectively lead others, you must first lead yourself. Before you can make and keep commitments to others, you must first make and keep commitments to yourself. This foundation of personal integrity becomes the basis for all other effectiveness. Habit 1: be proactive. The first habit forms the foundation of all others. Be proactive. This isn't just about taking initiative, though that's part of it. Being proactive means taking responsibility for your life and recognizing that between stimulus and response, you have a choice. Reactive people are driven by feelings, circumstances, conditions, and their environment. They blame external factors for their behavior. Proactive people, however, are driven by values. They make conscious choices based on principles rather than reacting to external pressures. Covey introduces the concept of the circle of concern versus the circle of influence. Your circle of concern includes all the things you worry about but can't directly control: the weather, the economy, other people's behavior. Your circle of influence contains the things you can actually do something about: your own behavior, your responses, your choices. Proactive people focus their time and energy on their circle of influence, and as they do this, their influence actually expands. Reactive people focus on their circle of concern, and their influence shrinks because they're spending energy on things they can't control. The language you use reveals whether you're being proactive or reactive. Reactive language includes phrases like, "There's nothing I can do," "That's just the way I am," or "They make me so mad." Proactive language sounds like, "Let me look at my options. I can choose a different approach," or "I control my own feelings." Habit 2: begin with the end in mind. The second habit is about mental creation preceding physical creation. Everything is created twice, first in your mind, then in reality. If you don't make a conscious effort to visualize who you are and what you want in life, you empower other people and circumstances to shape you. Beginning with the end in mind means developing a clear vision of your destination. It means knowing where you're going so that you better understand where you are now and can take the right steps in the right direction. This habit is based on the principle that all things are created twice. There's a mental or first creation and a physical or second creation to all things. Take building a house, for example. You create it in detail on paper before you ever hammer the first nail. The blueprint is the first creation. The same principle applies to parenting. If you want to raise responsible, caring children, you have to keep that end clearly in mind as you interact with your children on a daily basis. You can't behave toward them in ways that undermine your ultimate objective. The most effective way to begin with the end in mind is to develop a personal mission statement. This becomes your constitution, the solid expression of your vision and values. It becomes the criterion by which you measure everything else in your life. Your mission statement should address what you want to be, what you want to do, and the values that will guide your decisions. When you have this clarity, decision-making becomes much easier because you can measure every choice against your fundamental purposes. Habit 3, put first things first. The third habit is about discipline and execution. It's the physical creation that follows the mental creation of habits 1 and 2. While the first habit says, "You're the programmer," and the second habit helps you write the program, the third habit says, "Now run the program." Habit 3 is about life management, and it's different from time management. You can't really manage time. Time passes whether you like it or not. What you can manage are the events in your life in relation to time. Covey introduces a time management matrix with 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 contains activities that are both urgent and important: crises, emergency meetings, last-minute deadlines. Quadrant 2 contains activities that are important but not urgent: prevention, planning, relationship building, personal development. Quadrant 3 includes activities that are urgent but not important: interruptions, some phone calls, some meetings. Quadrant 4 contains activities that are neither urgent nor important: time wasters, excessive television, mindless internet browsing. Most people spend their time in Quadrant 1 and 3, reacting to urgent matters. Highly effective people spend most of their time in Quadrant 2, focusing on important but non-urgent activities. This is where quality happens, where you build the capacity to handle the urgent crises of Quadrant 1. The key is learning to say no to Quadrant 3 and 4 activities so you can say yes to Quadrant 2. This requires courage, because Quadrant 2 activities don't act on you, you have to act on them. Habit 4. Think win-win. The fourth habit marks the transition from private victory to public victory. It's about developing an abundance mentality and seeking mutual benefit in all human interactions. Win-win is a frame of mind and heart that constantly seeks mutual benefit. It's based on the paradigm that there's plenty for everybody, that one person's success is not achieved at the expense of another person's success. Most people think in terms of win-lose. They believe that if someone else wins, they lose. This scarcity mentality comes from comparing ourselves to others and believing that life is a zero-sum game. But win-win is based on the belief that there's plenty for everyone. Win-win requires courage balanced with consideration. You need courage to express your feelings and convictions, but you also need consideration for the feelings and convictions of others. It's not a technique. It's a total philosophy of human interaction. There are 5 dimensions to win-win: character, relationships, agreements, systems, and processes. Character is the foundation, including integrity, maturity, and an abundance mentality. Relationships are built on trust, which comes from character. Agreements define the win-win arrangement, systems support it, and processes maintain it. Sometimes win-win is impossible. In those cases, it's better to go for no deal rather than compromise your principles or accept a lose-win or win-lose arrangement. Habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. The 5th habit is about empathic communication. Most people listen with the intent to reply, not to understand. They're either speaking or preparing to speak. But if you want to interact effectively with others, you must first understand them. Empathic listening means listening with the intent to understand. You listen for feeling as well as meaning. You use your right brain as well as your left. You sense, you intuit, you feel. Empathic listening is so powerful because it gives you accurate data to work with. When you listen empathically, you give the other person psychological air. Once they feel understood, they become much more open to being influenced. Listening is often more important than talking. As Covey puts it, listening is the highest form of respect. Most people have a tendency to rush in and fix things with good advice, but they often fail to take the time to diagnose, to really understand the problem first. It's like a doctor prescribing glasses without examining your eyes first. Empathic listening takes time, but it saves time. When you really understand someone, you can often solve problems much more quickly and effectively. You avoid the time-consuming misunderstandings that come from poor communication. After you've sought to understand, then you seek to be understood. You present your ideas clearly, specifically, visually, and most importantly, in the context of a deep understanding of the other person's paradigms and concerns. Habit 6. Synergize. Synergy is the highest activity in all life. It's the true test and manifestation of all the other habits put together. Synergy means that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It means that the relationship which the parts have to each other is a part in and of itself. When you communicate synergistically, you're simply opening your mind and heart and expressions to new possibilities, new alternatives, new options. You're not sure when you're going into a communication what's going to happen, but you're excited about the possibility. Synergy is everywhere in nature. The great redwood trees grow in groves and share a vast array of intermingled roots. Without each other, they would blow over in a storm. Together, they can withstand almost anything. In human interactions, synergy means that 1 + 1 = 3 or more. It's not compromise, which would be 1 + 1 = 1.5. It's not just cooperation, which would be 1 + 1 = 2. Synergy is creative cooperation, where the solution is better than anything either person could have come up with individually. Synergy requires all the other habits. You have to be proactive and take initiative. You have to begin with the end in mind and know what you're trying to accomplish. You have to put first things first and focus on the important. You have to think win-win and seek mutual benefit. You have to seek first to understand before being understood. When all these elements come together, you create an environment where synergy can happen. Different perspectives are valued, and the differences themselves become the catalyst for creative solutions. Habit 7. Sharpen the saw. The 7th habit is about renewal, about taking time to sharpen the saw. It's about preserving and enhancing the greatest asset you have, yourself. It's about having a balanced program for self-renewal in the 4 areas of your nature: physical, spiritual, mental, and emotional. Imagine you come upon someone in the woods working feverishly to saw down a tree. When you ask what they're doing, they reply that they've been sawing for 5 hours and are exhausted. You suggest they take a break to sharpen the saw, and they respond that they don't have time because they're too busy sawing. This is exactly what happens to many people. They get so busy with the activities of daily living that they don't take time to renew themselves. But without renewal, the body becomes weak, the mind mechanical, the emotions raw, and the spirit insensitive. Physical renewal means caring for your body through proper nutrition, exercise, and rest. It's about building endurance, flexibility, and strength. This is Quadrant 2 activity that pays huge dividends in Quadrant 1 effectiveness. Spiritual renewal means clarifying and recommitting to your value system. It's about connecting with what matters most to you, whether through meditation, prayer, study, or time in nature. This is your core, your center, your commitment to your value system. Mental renewal means continuing to learn and grow intellectually. It includes reading good literature, keeping a journal, or learning new skills. Education is a lifelong process, and the mind, like the body, needs regular exercise. Emotional renewal comes primarily through relationships and service to others. It's about developing your emotional intelligence, practicing empathy, and contributing to the lives of others. This dimension is tied closely to the social dimension because our emotional life is primarily developed through our relationships. Bringing it all together. These 7 habits work together as an integrated whole. Habits 1 through 3 deal with self-mastery, moving you from dependence to independence. This is what Covey calls private victory. You can't have public victory without private victory first. Habits 4 through 6 deal with relationships and teamwork, moving you from independence to interdependence. This is public victory, the ability to work effectively with others. Habit 7 is about renewal, about maintaining and improving all the other habits. It's the habit that makes all the others possible. The beauty of these habits is that they're based on timeless principles. They're not techniques or quick fixes. They represent a way of living that leads to lasting effectiveness and fulfillment. As you think about implementing these habits, remember that they're not a checklist to complete, but a way of being to develop. Start with one habit and work on it until it becomes natural, then move to the next. Which habit will you start practicing today? Will you focus on expanding your circle of influence? Will you clarify your personal mission? Will you begin listening more empathetically? The choice, as always, is yours. Remember Covey's powerful words: sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap a destiny. Your destiny begins with the choices you make today.